St. Paul wrote to the church in Corinth these words: "Let all things be done decently and in good order." Those words sound a bit like a clarion call defining what we do in our public worship here at St. Anne's. Whether or not that is the case, it is an undeniable fact that human beings exist within parameters of behaviour and an array of rules and regulations. As Christians, though, we are not only governed by the transitory laws of an increasingly secular society, but by the eternal law of God. We find them in our holy writings, and they're enshrined in the Ten Commandments of the Old Testament and in the Great Commandment spoken from the lips of Jesus himself, recorded in the Gospel according to St. Matthew. You shall love the Lord your God and love your neighbour as yourself. Laws facilitate good order, but laws ought also to be the conduit of freedom. Yesterday was the feast day of St. Benedict, and also the festival day at the Anglican monastic community of the Resurrection in Mirfield. Many of us from St. Anne's are familiar with our Yorkshire-based brethren, whose charism is founded upon very strong Benedictine traditions. I've been a companion at Mirfield and very grateful for their fellowship down the years. It explains why I am so often seen in my cassock and scapular around and about in Tottington. St. Benedict wrote a very well-known rule for his followers, comprising 73 sections. It covers every aspect of monastic life, from the ownership of property to the measure of food and drink, and how to deal with the incorrigible. His rule is highly practical. All are expected to work in the kitchen as well as the grounds, and there is a given respect for material things. Some of the rules are intuitively pastoral. Referring to the cellarer, Benedict advises that he must not sadden the brethren. But the rule of St. Benedict is not simply a list of bald and dead-end duties, for they facilitate freedom for members of the community living together and following Christ. Over the years, I've read many Benedictine books, and I reread the rule again only the other day. And one of the things that strikes me every time that I read it is the way in which St. Benedict seemed capable of seeing the significant in what might seem to be on the surface things that seem remarkably insignificant. Several years ago, Bishop Nigel McCulloch directed me towards a book with the remarkable title of Ritual Notes. It was first published in 1894 and is a vast instruction manual cataloguing every conceivable element of church worship. I happened to continue and follow its instructions regarding altar cloths, how to fold up linen, how to arrange the altar silver, the choreography of altar servers, in which order we should extinguish the altar candles, when to make the sign of the cross, and much more. The purpose of this apparent minutiae is to discover the sacred in the seemingly insignificant actions and practices that we've lived by over many years. The sacrament of Holy Communion is what Jesus said it is. This is my body. So how we receive him, how we prepare ourselves in our actions and in our gestures, and most especially in our hearts, really does matter. In the prayer of thanksgiving, we are encouraged to reverence these sacred mysteries. With a greater silence in church these days, we will find the opportunity to ponder on the mystery of the sacred of whom we partake without the noisy familiarity that perhaps we've been used to. When we come to church to make our communion and refresh our spiritual lives, we will have time to reflect upon the sacred things of God that are not immediately intelligible. Through moments of silence, we will, I am sure, comprehend the divine. I am, as I'm sure you are too, very happy to know that this morning we have, as a community, celebrated once again the resurrection of Jesus from death in St. Anne's, in the breaking of bread. We have kept the faith, and we shall continue to do so, whatever lies ahead. So then, as I have said so many, many times, keep the faith. And as you pray for me, I shall surely pray for you.